Why do you hesitate at the exact moment things begin to change? Why do your hands shake when opportunity knocks? Why does your mind invent excuses the second you're close to something real?
You tell yourself you're afraid to fail, but failure is comfortable. It gives you permission to stay the same. The deeper truth, the one you rarely admit, even to yourself, is this: you're afraid of what will happen if you actually succeed. Afraid of the weight of your own potential. Afraid of becoming someone you no longer recognize. We speak of potential like it's a seed, quietly waiting to bloom. But that's not how it feels, is it? It feels more like a storm behind your ribs, a relentless pressure under your skin. It whispers at night. It claws at your dreams. And it terrifies you because it threatens everything you've built your identity around. You say you want to grow, but growth has a price. It requires the destruction of who you used to be. And deep down, you know that the moment you stop shrinking to fit inside the world you've outgrown, something will have to break. Maybe it's the version of you that plays it safe. Maybe it's the relationships built on who you were, not who you're becoming. Maybe it's the comfort of never being seen too clearly. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Because once you see your own power, truly see it, you can no longer hide behind your limitations. No more blaming the world. No more calling it bad timing. No more pretending that you don't want more. It's not just about career, or money, or recognition. It's about becoming who you were before the world taught you to be small. And that is terrifying, because potential doesn't just elevate you, it isolates you. Not everyone will come with you. Not everyone will understand. And that is the real fear, isn't it? That if you fully step into your power, you'll become too much, too loud, too different, too alone. So you dim your light. You stay relatable. You aim for just enough. But the truth is, you are not afraid of losing. You are afraid of winning. Afraid of what will happen when your excuses die, when your comfort zones collapse, when there's no longer anything left to blame but your own reluctance to rise. So here's the real question. Who would you become if nothing stood in your way? Not even you. To answer that, we have to go deeper into the psychological blueprint of this fear, where it starts, why it lives inside almost everyone, and what it's actually protecting you from. This fear you carry, it didn't begin with you, it was installed. Before you ever questioned your worth, before you ever doubted your voice, you were trained to make yourself smaller, not directly. No one sat you down and said, doubt your power. But the messages were everywhere, coded in praise, in punishment, in the quiet expectations of the world around you. Don't be too loud. Don't dream too big. Stay humble. Be realistic. Translation: don't threaten the order. Don't step beyond your place. Don't make the others uncomfortable. Psychologist Abraham Maslow once observed that it is not the fear of inadequacy that most cripples people. It is the fear of their own greatness. He called it the Jonah complex, a deep psychological resistance to becoming what we sense we're capable of. Because becoming that version of ourselves means leaving behind the identity we've carefully constructed to belong, to be accepted, to stay safe. Carl Jung called it the shadow. Not just the dark parts of our psyche, the anger, the jealousy, the guilt, but also the gold we've repressed, the raw power, the creative force, the part of us that knows we were made for more, but was cast into the unconscious. because it didn't fit the mold. Society doesn't reward true individuality. It rewards obedience dressed up as ambition. It wants you productive, not powerful, busy, not free. It doesn't know what to do with someone who no longer needs external validation, who is driven not by fear or shame, but by vision. So from a young age, you begin to internalize a false dilemma. Be accepted or be authentic. Fit in or rise up. Most people choose safety, camouflaging their potential beneath personas, shrinking their truth so it doesn't disrupt the status quo. And eventually, they forget there was ever another way. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." He wasn't speaking metaphorically. The tribe offers belonging, but it costs you yourself. The moment you step beyond what is common, what is average, you become a threat. And that threat is punished through criticism, ridicule, isolation. So what does your psyche do? It adapts. It convinces you that mediocrity is wisdom, that compromise is maturity, that to rise too far is to fall too hard. You build your identity around survival, not expansion, around safety, not truth. And here lies the root. You fear your potential because claiming it would mean confronting the systems, both internal and external, that have kept you compliant. It's not just psychological, it's existential. To become who you truly are, you must be willing to let go of who you were trained to be. But if you don't, what happens then? What does that suppression do to a human being over time? To understand that, we need to look at the hidden consequences, the silent costs, the slow erosion of the soul. There's a particular kind of suffering that no one talks about. Not the suffering of failure, not the pain of rejection or loss, but the slow, silent erosion of the self when you know you're meant for more and still do nothing about it. You wake up tired, even after sleep. You scroll, you eat, you work, you laugh, but it all feels flat. You perform a version of yourself that's been edited for acceptability. Safe, successful, numb, and the world applauds you for it. But late at night, when the applause fades and the distractions fall away, the truth creeps in like a whisper you can't unhear. You were made for something greater, and you're running out of time. The mind is clever. It will build entire belief systems to protect you from your potential. It will call it realistic. It will label your deep longing as ego, your boldness as arrogance. You'll convince yourself that playing small is maturity, that self-abandonment is self-control. But deep inside, something festers, a psychic tension, a quiet rage, a hollowness you try to fix with consumption, relationships, routine, and still you feel off, disconnected, half alive. Neuroscience has a term for this dissonance: cognitive distress from identity suppression. When you consistently deny the parts of yourself that want to grow, your brain reacts as if you're under attack. Cortisol spikes, motivation drops. Your sense of meaning begins to dissolve, and yet you keep going, smiling, delivering, obeying, because the alternative, stepping into your power, feels like too much. But here's the thing no one wants to admit: unlived potential becomes poison. It doesn't fade quietly. It curdles. It turns against you. That's the real reason behind your chronic anxiety, your sudden bursts of anger, your unexplained sadness. Your soul is starving for expansion, and you're feeding it routine. You think you're just tired. You're actually malnourished, starved of truth, starved of purpose, starved of you. And this isn't just personal, it's collective. We live in a society where extraordinary people die ordinary deaths, not from lack of talent, but from an overdose of fear, where conformity is rewarded and authenticity is labeled as too much, where brilliance hides behind screens and raw voices stay silent to avoid offending fragile egos. We've created a culture that trains lions to act like sheep and calls it civility. But what if your discomfort isn't a flaw? What if it's a warning? A signal that the life you're living is too small for the person you're becoming. You can ignore it. You can keep decorating the cage. But sooner or later, you'll be forced to choose comfort or becoming. And those who choose to become must rebel, not against the world, but against the invisible limits they've mistaken for truth. There comes a moment where survival is no longer enough, where the ache inside you grows louder than the lies you tell yourself, where staying small feels more dangerous than rising. And when that moment comes, there is only one path left: rebellion. Not rebellion against society for failing you, not rebellion against others for misunderstanding you, rebellion against your own conditioning. You must become willing to destroy the version of yourself that was built for safety. This is not a gentle evolution. It is war. It means confronting every belief you inherited without questioning it. The belief that ambition is arrogance. The belief that boldness is dangerous. The belief that it's better to be liked than to be free. It means recognizing that most of what you call you is actually the voice of fear in 1,000 disguises. Fear of standing out, fear of loss, fear of failure, wrapped in the velvet of reasonableness. And here's the paradox. You cannot think your way into freedom. You must act your way into it. Every time you lean into discomfort instead of retreating. Every time you choose honesty over approval. Every time you do the thing your fear says you're not ready for. You tear a hole in the web that keeps you small. You begin to rewire your brain, your body, your identity. Neuroplasticity is real. Courage is teachable. And greatness, contrary to what you've been sold, is earned, not through effort alone, but through the ruthless shedding of everything false. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "Become who you are. Not become someone else. Not follow the map laid out for you. Become what is already burning beneath your skin. But it requires sacrifice. You must be willing to lose the admiration of the mediocre, the comfort of predictability, the false security of belonging to a world that fears its own dreams. In their place, you gain something rarer than gold: integrity, alignment, power that needs no permission, and you are not alone. History was built by the few who chose rebellion over repetition. Socrates drinking the hemlock rather than betraying his truth. Galileo standing before the Inquisition, whispering, "And yet it moves." Artists, thinkers, revolutionaries who dared to step beyond what was acceptable and paid the price to live authentically. Their rebellion wasn't reckless. It was sacred, and yours must be too. Not a tantrum, not a performance, a solemn vow. I will not die with my music still in me. The path to reclaiming your potential is brutal. It demands more than motivation. It demands identity, death. But what waits on the other side is not just success, it's freedom. Not the freedom granted by a world that needs you manageable, but the freedom of someone who needs nothing but their own fire to keep going. But what is the final key to this awakening? What ultimate truth breaks the last chain around your soul? We are almost there. Here it is, the truth you've sensed all along, buried beneath the noise, the conditioning, the fear. You were never afraid of your limits. You were afraid that you might not have any, because if there are no limits, then there are no excuses. And if there are no excuses, then it's all on you. Your suffering, your silence, your stagnation. They weren't imposed. They were inherited, accepted, performed. And the moment you stop performing, the illusion shatters. You begin to see that the cage was never locked. The door was always open. But walking through it would have meant facing the truth. You were made for more, and you've been hiding from it. Not because you're lazy, not because you're unworthy, but because potential is terrifying. It asks everything of you. It strips away your masks. It demands that you stop negotiating with life and start claiming it. And that is the ultimate truth. Becoming who you were meant to be is not a process of addition. It is a process of removal. You are not becoming something new. You are becoming what you were before the world told you to be afraid. Before the shame, before the guilt, before the expectations, before the fear of being too much made you dim your light. This is why the path feels so brutal. Because it's not a path forward, it's a return to self, to essence, to power that was always there, waiting to be remembered. And what you remember changes everything. Because once you remember your potential, you cannot unknow it. Once you feel that fire in your chest, the old life becomes unbearable. The lies stop working. The masks stop fitting. The excuses lose their flavor. And you stand at a crossroads, comfort or truth, silence or voice, fear or freedom. Not everyone will understand the choice you make. Some will mock it. Others will resist it. But those who walk this path walk it not for applause, but for alignment. Because nothing feels more sacred than being who you were always meant to be. And now, the final question is no longer, what if I fail? It's, what am I really risking by not trying? Not just opportunities, but myself, my life. You are not here to be small. You are not here to blend in. You are here to set fire to what you were never meant to carry and walk, blazing, into the life that's been calling you from the beginning. The fear is real, but so is your power. And now that you know, you can no longer pretend you don't.